Hit it.
Well, hit it there.
Hey!
There. Yes.
Yeah.
Do it. Oh my goodness.
Alex Broad is in the house. Hey!
Oh. Hi,
And
Alex.
Sam Bickford is here. Sam, I hope you get your mustard soon. I really do. We actually added a little banner. When I say we, I mean Willa. Yes, you're on camera, Willa. To our website this morning, letting people know that some of our shipping partners are taking longer than usual.
Yes.
So we do apologize for people that are waiting a long time for their mustards. Sam, it's on the way, I promise. And thank you for it. And reorder too. Love to see the reorders because that means people really like the product.
Oh, someone says it came today.
Hey, did it? Was that? Yes, that's a Sam. That's our girl.
Oh, yay!
Yes.
Oh, I'm so glad.
So today's Mustard Monday is not a heavily mustard-centric recipe, but does have a wonderful brown mustard seed in it. And as we said in a little intro on the intrawebs, I have this incredible story where back when I was in my backpacking days, make sure you're on camera, there you go. When I was in my backpacking days, I spent about 5 years working and traveling and backpacking around the world. A lot of people don't know that about me. Mm-hmm. And one of the interesting stops that I made was in India, in the northern foothills, a place called Almora, which is a wonderful hill station. And there's a movie actually that Elizabeth Taylor was in called Elephant Walk.
Oh.
It was based in Almora. So if you ever want to see what Almora looks like, I was in a tiny village a few hours north of Almora called Bultabira. Hard to find on any map. And it was this little inn perched on a hillside. And I had a mission. I wanted to learn yoga, and I wanted to learn how to cook Indian food. Good
goals.
I did one of those two things. So Kim Singh
you did the right.
Well, Will and I share our love of Indian food, and if you're ever in Toronto, our favorite Indian go-to. You miss it. You miss it.
I miss it so much. Moti Mahal.
Yes, George Street East.
Oh, it's just like the most delicious Indian food. It is. They do tullies.
Tully is a plate that gives you a bunch of different sections, and so for one price, you get a complete meal. Tully means full meal or dinner plate, and usually it'll have, if you get the vegetarian one, it'll have 2 vegetables and a dal. We're actually going to make the dal for you today, and dal is essentially a bean stew.
Okay.
That you can make a little bit more liquidy to turn into a soup, like a dal soup, or you can leave it a little bit thicker and make it more like a bean stew.
Wonderful.
The soup you can just eat with a spoon. The stew you'd want to serve over a basmati rice or pilaf, as we would call it in India. So I loved my experience in India, and I love to relive that. And Will loves it when I relive it too, because she gets to eat the...
I do. I actually took an Indian cooking course at George Brown. They do after...
My alma mater.
Yes, true. They do adult learning classes, and I took a vegetarian Indian course, and it was... it just opened up a whole world of possibilities. Mm-hmm. And as I know, or at least I think I was taught, that using mustard in Indian food is more of a southern Indian dish rather than a northern Indian. Is that right?
That's typically true, actually. And although Indian spices tend to travel around the country, and you don't really see a lot of hard and fast rules necessarily. Although in the north it tends to be more bread oriented, in the south it's more rice oriented, just from the wheat that you get in the north and the rice crops in the south. But you'll get rice and bread in both typically as well. But you're exactly right. And there's a technique for making Indian food. We're going to show you a couple of those little typical tricks that Indians like to use in their kitchens. One of them is that they typically start cooking with dal. And sorry, say it.
Ghee?
That's the one. So
I was very confused.
I was just testing her, and she passed.
Ghee,
well
spelled G-H-E-E.
Right. And ghee is?
It's just like butter.
Clarified butter.
Yeah.
So clarified butter, if you don't have a container of ghee at home and you want to make ghee yourself, it's super easy to do. One alternative is just use butter. No problem. If you want to make clarified butter, it's super easy. What you do is you take a pound of butter, you melt it in a pot, and what you'll find is that the solids sink to the bottom, and that the clarified butter rises to the top. And so you just use the clarified butter, which is ghee, G-H-E-E. So this is number one, clarified butter, ghee. If you don't have any, you can also use oil if you want to use oil. It's not that big of a deal. The other thing that we don't have here in our little town in Tofino, British Columbia, where you find Capshaw Kitchens, Capshaw Studios. We really haven't come up with quite a name for you.
Not quite yet.
But asafoetida powder, not available. And when we made our little run down to Victoria last week, we weren't thinking of picking any up. And really, you know, if you don't have to, so it's not the biggest deal in the world that there's no asafoetida in this recipe, but you would want to add a pinch of it.
So what is it? What's asafoetida like? Is it a taste? Is it
it's a very unique taste and flavor that it's kind of hard to describe. Although you're so good at describing flavors on camera that I would want to set you loose on it. But we're going to just show people how this gets done. So we're going to start by frying the spices. And again, this is a very Indian technique. Typically in Western cooking, you add the spices after you add the aromatics. What's an aromatic? Onions and garlic. Typically, onions and garlic are your aromatics. Okay. And in Indian cooking, you add your spices first. The hot oil, the hot ghee, will activate those spices and bring out the natural oils in those spices. So let's start. Show them how this gets done.
Okay, I'm going to add our kitchen cam.
Kitchen cam! Hi, kitchen cam.
Oh, yes. It is probably hard to find a food in Newfoundland as well. But you never know. They come in, as I recall, it was like a little jar, like maybe an inch round jar. Like you only use a pinch. The recipes I've always seen have only used ever like a teeny tiny amount. So,
and you know, as Willa will always tell you, I'm somebody that doesn't love to follow recipes. We were scouring around this morning. It does exist. The cookbook that I developed when I was in India, and if you look at the quantities, it's all a hand of this and a pinch of that, or some number of pinches. I didn't have measuring cups. I didn't have teaspoons. And so it's what you like and what your taste is for how this is going to go.
Okay, so you are melting the ghee right now.
The ghee is melted, and then we're going to add all of our spices first. So I've got
whole spices first, and
whole spices first. So I've got my.
So we want the mustard seeds, or the mustard seeds?
Mustard seeds are going to go in after, because once they start to pop, then the whole show is over and you start to add everything else quite quickly afterwards.
So we want cumin.
So we've got our cumin seeds.
And cloves. There's the cumin going in.
And again, you want to start with hot oil so that when the cumin hits the pan, things start to happen. We're going to add a few whole cloves, about 4 of them in there.
Great.
We're going to add some whole black pepper.
Peppercorns.
Oh yeah, it's ground pepper there. That's how I roll.
Cinnamon? Do we need
the whole cinnamon is going to go in as well. Yeah. So we've got a nice chunky piece of
cinnamon stick.
There you go.
Love it.
We need to get more cinnamon.
We need to get more cinnamon.
Add that to the shopping list.
Add that to the list.
Do we have a bay leaf or do we wait? Bay leaf we can add once the whole thing starts to simmer and roll. I'm going to add some red chilies at this stage as well for a little bit of heat. Although Willa and I are adding a couple of fun things to this recipe, which are a little bit unusual, just because we have them in our fridge and want to use them. We have our mustard greens that we bought at the farmer's market in Nanaimo the other day.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to go in with our coriander,
ground coriander. There it is. And turmeric?
Turmeric. Bring this
No, I didn't know if you want to.
So we have some turmeric here. Right in.
Yep.
Turmeric is wonderful for
color and flavor. It's so good for your skin. Love the smell of the Indian spices fry. Really brings back so many memories for me.
Now,
And turmeric, by the way, is very hard to digest unless you cook it. So this is what you do. Yep.
So I've seen at our little co-op little jars of fresh turmeric. Is there a big difference when you're cooking with it?
You know what? I don't think I've ever actually cooked with fresh turmeric. It's part of the ginger family, and it looks a little bit like ginger.
Yeah.
And it'd be a great experiment to try. Typically, when you're using dry, you'll use less because dry is more concentrated than fresh. So that's important to remember. And I'm going to add
everything's starting to smell so good.
And I'm going to add the mustard seeds. So we're using brown mustard seeds for this recipe. There are, for your mustard education, 3 different colors of mustard seeds. There's
yellow or white mustard seeds. There are brown mustard seeds, which are these ones, and there's black mustard seeds. Black are the hottest. And Dijon mustard is a mixture of 50-50 of the white and the brown mustard seeds.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Now you know.
So you can actually hear the mustard seeds start to crackle. You hear that?
You're going to bring over
Crackle pan.
the crackle pan. Exactly.
And now we're going to add in our aromatics. So
Walk Instagram over. Sorry.
the onions, the garlic, and the ginger are all going to go in.
Ooh, we can definitely get this now.
Crackle pan. There you go. Oh, grams.
Yeah. Oh, great.
I microplaned the ginger, which is the nicest way to get all of the flavor possible out of your ginger. And what you'll see is, if you're on the webcam here, that the spices will all stick to the onions and the garlic as they cook, which is fine. If you start to see them stick to the bottom of the pan, don't freak out. You'll be able to take care of that in just a moment when you add a little bit of the stock. But you want to soften the onions, ginger, and garlic. And remember, too, that when you've seen me prepare garlic before, I always use a little bit of salt when I'm chopping garlic in order to absorb the garlic oils. So there is some salt that's in here already, but I am going to add some more salt towards the end of the cooking process. Salt can inhibit the Daal, and this is a picture, by the way, of the Mung Daal right here. There are lots of different, you could use green lentils, red lentils, black lentils. We're choosing to use Mung Daal. And I can see that my onions are starting to soften. This is the stage. So I do have some lemon juice that's going to go in just a moment. And that's another way that we'll get any of the coated seasonings at the bottom of the pan to release. But now I'm going to add, as you can see, we're getting, our onions are soft, our spices are not burning.
Garlic, ginger, and onion.
Thank you.
Sorry that took so long. We had a little bit of an echo. I hope it's gone for everyone. I forgot to mute a mic. Please let us know that we've got it.
Wait, what? You're human? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I know.
Damn you, preconceived notions of immortality.
So you just added the Daal too, hey?
Yeah, so I threw the Daal in. I've got 2 cups of Daal that I've added, and Daal will typically grow to about double its own size.
Okay.
And just sort of keep it moving in the pan. It'll absorb all of the flavor of all those spices. And then Willa and I made up a beef stock last week. What did we make for that beef stock? The soup.
Goulash.
The goulash we made, right. So we have a little bit of the beef stock left over. So adding the beef stock, of course, means that this will not be a vegetarian dish. But if you wanted to add either water or vegetable stock, then you remain vegetarian.
So we're adding this?
Yep. Go ahead. Keep going. Perfect.
Great.
And you'll see now you're going to go from sauteing to simmering because the water has then stopped the saute process.
I'm just gonna.
And I love watching the things that he makes. Not only does he have a very good eye for flavor and technique, but Sam also loves plating, and his platings are beautiful. So well done, Sam. Keep up the good work. Now we will add the bay leaf. This one is not as freakishly large as some of the other ones that we tend to use.
Freakishly large bay leaves. Let me find the bay leaves.
And we're also going to add the lemon juice. Lemon juice is nature's own flavor enhancer and obviously adds a brightness to everything. One fun fact, and I'll mention this a lot because it's one of the fun things I like to do, which is repeat myself, is Willa loves it when I repeat myself. So this camera's not on though, right?
No,
Just this one.
just that one.
If you've oversalted your food, the cure for that is adding lemon. If you've got too much lemon in your food, the cure for that is salt. So salt and lemon will balance each other out. It's a really fun, not fun, but really excellent tip to be able to balance those flavors because everybody has at some point added too much salt.
So we're going to, what's the next step? What are you doing next?
Well, the next step really is just cover and simmer. It's going to take at this stage about half an hour. One of the nice things about mung beans is that you don't have to soak them overnight. You don't have to pressure cook them. You can do the whole thing.
And these are split yellow mung beans, and they're perfect for this purpose. I'm going to add our fancy dancy lid. Now, I can also see that there may not even be enough liquid. You want enough to cover the beans so that they'll get absorbed to the texture that you like. And, you know, if it's too thick, add more stock. If it's not thick enough, simmer it longer.
Chris Parsons says, never a dull moment.
Boom! We love our food puns, Chris. Chris had me on his Thirsty Thursdays podcast, Zoomcast. What do you call these things that people these fun meetup people are doing on the internet?
I don't know.
Yeah, and I had a really good time. So thanks very much, Chris, for having me on. And I really enjoyed catching up and staying around and watching Gregory McDonald, aka Cola Wars, and of course Kevin Brosh was on after him too, so that was really fun. So at this stage, we simply cover and simmer, bring it up to a light simmer. You don't want to boil the crap out of it.
What?
Right?
That's my signature move.
Oh, and hello.
Oh, tomatoes.
Forgot something.
Oops. See, that's why we keep things on display. Let's see if I can find the tomatoes. So that would add more liquid to it, right?
It'll add more liquid and color and flavor too. So it'll change the flavor profile a little bit. But this recipe calls for crushed tomatoes. So we're using that can. and a bottle of crushed tomatoes.
Right.
And it'll kind of, now I like this texture a lot better. And we'll see what,
Love
I
it.
think it's about half an hour.
Okay.
We're not gonna drag everybody through the whole cooking process at this stage. I think
Not today.
we can stand here and talk for 20 minutes while this cooks.
Yeah, probably not. Oh, look, it's Finley.
Finley! It's my niece in London. Hey, Finn. So the dal is simmering.
Yeah.
We're going to let this process take its course.
And these go down at the end?
No.
I'm
Voila.
just curious.
They go in now.
Okay.
So
What have we got?
we added, we have got mustard greens that we chopped up. This is like the worst cooking ever. I forgot everything. It's been a bit of a morning, folks. So thanks very much for playing along. So on my radio show, on Unprepared, I had Amarita, who's the proprietor of Gaia Grocery in Tofino. Gaia Grocery will be carrying our mustards as soon as they arrive, and Amarita, we really appreciate that. She brought us a gift when we had her on the show, some baby kale.
That's
or
right.
Garden grown kale.
Garden grown kale.
And so we've simply chopped that up, and we're going to add that into the
Wonderful.
dal as it simmers. She told us that braising this kale will be the way to go, and as you might remember, braising is
Cooking
in liquid,
in liquid.
covered.
Covered. Oh,
Covered. That's
that's
an important point. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to add the kale, and we're also going to add some green mustard greens,
Mustard greens.
which are nice and salads.
Yeah, we picked
and-
those up in Nanaimo. There's we found a farmer's market. It was as we were driving through town, and we found some wonderful mustard greens. We also found elderflower syrup, and people were selling fresh eggs. And
Support your farmers markets.
Yeah.
They're such a wonderful place to shop and to connect with people and food. It's a really terrific way to spend a bit of an afternoon. It broke up our drive back to Tofino.
it did. And there's great ways to socially distance and still go and attend the farmers markets. Give everyone their space. Wear a mask if you feel you need to. But
Now the leaves will all release a little bit of liquid, but you can see that the mung beans are absorbing most of our cooking liquid. So I'm going to add a little bit more water.
I'm going to bring over Instagram again and let Instagram check out.
Hello, Instagram.
Check out what we've all our cooking doings.
Yeah. So here we go.
That looks beautiful.
So yeah, so this is going to be a really nice leafy green. This is not the recipe that I learned when I was in India, because we didn't add kale and mustard greens to it back then, but we would have added tomatoes, either crushed tomatoes or more typically just chopped up some tomatoes and thrown them in.
Yeah.
This is just a really easy way to do that. And we'll throw this back into our fridge. And of course, this comes back up to the simmer, and we'll then cook for about 20 minutes, and then we'll be able to have it at lunch. 11:30 here now in Tofino, so top of the hour, 12, we'll have this for lunch. As I say, we can add a little bit of extra liquid, have it as a nice soup, although it's a gorgeous clear day here in Tofino, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Talk to people. There you go. Not just a voice in the wilderness.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all we need to do.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Thanks for being part of our Mustard Monday. We have our 32nd Thursday coming up on
Thursday.
Thank you.
Boom.
And this Thursday, I really want to do a barbecue sauce.
Barbecue.
Yeah. Chef Anthony Greco at Hillfire Barbecue and Smoke Barbecue. I think they're actually calling it Hillfire General and Barbecue now, because they're selling their products, they're selling their barbecue, and they sort of pivoted into that that space that restaurants are doing. And I'm so proud of Anthony and his team at Hillfire. Fond Hill, Ontario, pride of Fond Hill, Ontario. Where's Fond Hill, Ontario? Look it up. Go there. Thank me later. We have done a collab Anthony and his team. It's his Ontario Gold barbecue sauce featuring our ballpark mustard. So Anthony, thanks very much for doing that and for including us in your program. It's a big thrill for us to be part of. Hey, Dawn is here from Edible Vancouver Island. Hey, Dawn.
Hello.
And the Weissblots are here too. Muzzle took to the Weissblots on your recent engagement. Well, not your recent engagement, but Jesse's recent engagement. Thank you, Neil. And I think that's it. So we're back up to the simmer, which is our cue to cover. And the mustard greens do have a hint of spice to them. So when it comes up, it will be a little bit, which I like, and Willa's learning to like.
I'll get it.
Thanks for all of your everything today, my dear. Thank you, my dear, as well for tuning in and being part of Mustard Monday. As I say, this has been a huge and fun journey for us. Oh, it's Danica, not Dawn, who's watching from Edible Vancouver Island. Hello, Danica.
Yes.
And we look forward to meeting you and when you make it out to Tofino or when we make it over to your side of the island. Huge supporters of Edible Vancouver Island. Support your edible magazines, support your restaurants, support your restaurant stores, and just be nice to each other.
Yeah, be kind.
Have a great Monday. Love you all. Love you especially.
Oh, it's very nice to hear.